Daily Tech News Show is made possible by its listeners. Thanks to all of you, including Adam L., Tony Glass, Peter Bohack, and brand new patron Sean. Everybody welcome Sean.
Yay!
On this episode of DTNS, Google lets you turn photos into photos of stuffed animals. Threads tops 300 million monthly active users, but is that a lot? And Emily Forlini from PC Mag helps us understand Apple intelligence. This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm the show's producer, Roger.
And joining us, senior reporter at PC Magazine, Emily Forlini. Welcome, Emily.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's good to have you, and it's always nice to have new folks showing up, so I appreciate you being along.
Yeah, of course. This is fun.
Excellent. Well, we are going to talk a lot about Apple intelligence in just a bit, but let's start with the quick hits.
Motang submitted a story in our subreddit that Waymo will be testing its autonomous taxis in Tokyo in early 2025. It'll start by mapping the streets to help train the cars. And good luck if you have ever been to Tokyo, Waymo.
They're going to need some training. The modular framework laptop has a new module out. It's a $39 module that adds 2 M.2 slots to the laptop 16. Considering the ones that are already in the main frame, that lets you add more chips like an eGPU, an AI accelerator, or what I imagine a lot of you are thinking, more storage. In fact, The Verge's Sean Hollister notes that it could let you add from 26 to 38 terabytes of storage to your framework laptop 16. If you took up all the modules, you could get up to 38 terabytes.
RW Nash submitted a story that the EU fined Meta 251 million euros for violations of the GDPR. A view as function was hacked back in September of 2018 to give malicious actors access to Facebook user profile data.
The UK government is doing what they call a consult. That's just asking for public opinions about creating an opt-out copyright regime for AI training. So that would mean if you're a rights holder, you would have to proactively take steps to say, do not use any of our data for AI training. A mechanism would be created for rights holders to reserve those rights and negotiate licensing fees. Public comments on the proposal will be taken through an online survey until February 25th, 2025.
OnePlus says it will launch its OnePlus 13 on January 7th during CES, also planning to show off the OnePlus Buds Pro as well. Samsung is expected to launch the next Galaxy S phones in January too, so some announcements coming right up.
Google Labs has a new feature letting U.S. users try out an image generator called Whisk, W-H-I-S-K. Lets you use an existing image as the inspiration for a new one, but it's kind of limited what you can do with it. You have to choose one of 3 styles, a sticker, an enamel pin, or a plushie, and then you upload your subject, and it comes out as one of those. There's also an advanced editor where you can use some text or determine the scene as well as the one of the 3 styles. There's an input bar that once you've got an image, you can add a description to refine it, say, make the background black or something like that. Google says the tool uses Gemini to write a description of the image you upload and then feeds that description to Imagen 3 to create the final product. Emily, I'm not sure exactly why they're doing Whisk. It's kind of fun, but do you have a sense of what this might be useful for?
No, I don't. And it reminds me of the image playground in Apple Intelligence, which when I first used that, I was like, I cannot believe how many millions, potentially billions of dollars went towards this feature. And I feel somewhat similarly about this, where it's a cool, fun thing to try out, but the applications are so limited. And it's really hard to say this is genuinely super cool because we already know you can create images with AI. I don't need a more limited pared down version of that. I'm unsure what they're doing here.
That's a really good point. I think if I were to send this, the splash page to somebody and be like, "Oh, have some fun with this. Put an image in there and see what you get out of it." Somebody might say, "Oh, cool. If I've never done this before, I've never played around with this. this is a limited but novelty cutesy thing. I put an image of my dog into Whisk this morning, and I didn't actually go as far as Tom to put my dog in front of a castle, but I could have, if I wanted to refine it. But the end plushy version of my dog was like, that's cute. I will do this exactly once.
Exactly. I did it for a friend. I set that image as their contact photo in my iPhone because that's a fun thing. I have a unique image of them, but that is absolutely not a reason to buy a phone or, do any of the things these companies want it to get you to do.
Because this is in Google Labs, I wonder if it is meant to gather data on what people do with it. It could also be just to get people used to what you can do with it for people who are like, I don't know what to make in these, images, or I don't know how to properly do prompts. It's kind of helping you along by saying you don't have to come up with the prompt, just upload the image. And because it's on Rails, it's less likely to be used for malicious purposes because you're just ending up with plushies and they have a celebrity image filter on it and et cetera, et cetera. I did use my dog as an example as well. And as Sarah mentioned, put him in front of a castle. It was cute.
It's cute.
I said, give me a Game of Thrones style castle, and it kind of did. One of the versions, though, did have him with 6 legs. Which is still cute because it's a plushie, right? But
if your actual dog had 6 legs,
not hallucination proof is what we're saying here.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess isn't an evil product. It's not like I actually think it's just. It kind of misses the moment for me. Like it's almost like 2 years late or something. And we're kind of all getting to that point where we have AI exhaustion and we're like, what can this do for me? Like, what can it really do? And this to me is just another lukewarm kind of release.
Yeah, if it wasn't in labs, I would really be puzzled. The fact that it's in labs means that they kind of don't know what it's for either. And they just kind of want to toss it out there because they made it. But it's an example of not meeting either end of the scale. There's those of us like us on the show right now. We're like, yeah, I know how to use Dolly and I know how to use Imagine and all of that. Give me something that makes that better, not more limited. On the other end of the scale are people who don't know. And this would be great as the way Apple's image playground is great to be like, it's very simple. It's very easy to get you started. I just don't see a lot of people who are unfamiliar with AI going into Google Labs to do this. So it's a weird place to put it in that respect, I guess.
It kind of feels like part of a product that just didn't get added to another Google product, and the Whisk team is like, let's just, roll it out.
We didn't include it in this, but let's just throw it in labs and see what happens.
What's the harm? What's the harm? And there are definitely, I mean, I some of my less technically minded friends all the time are, constantly, it's always ChatGPT, where I'm like, ChatGPT does certain things. It does not do image generation. I mean, OpenAI will do plenty of that for you, and many companies will too. But I think there are a lot of folks who kind of likening it to the early days of, I can print my photo using, Snapfish. And it'll just come to my mailbox, that sort of thing. It's like some folks are like, I want to do this thing. I don't want to get crazy technical. I want it to be, fun and cute, Christmas present type thing.
Is the thing that it can do just create a new, like, kind of stylized version of an existing image, like of you or your dog? Is that what it's getting at? Like focusing on the personalization of the AI image, but then they have to sanitize it because they don't want to, make a deep fake factory.
Right.
So that's why they're like, you can choose it as a plushie or a, whatever. So I think it's like a way to create a sanitized deep fake and have fun with it. That's the value I see versus typing in a generic prompt like, I want a photo of a platypus playing hockey, like the early days. I think it's trying to be more personal without creating deep fakes.
That makes sense to me. It is almost a design by committee in that way.
Right.
Well, in related Google AI news, DeepMind released VO2, a video generator that can theoretically create 2-minute or more clips in 4K. Except VO2 is only available in Google's experimental Video FX tool and is capped at 720p and also 8 seconds. So cool videos, but that's all you get. Video FX also has a wait list, so if you're not on it, you might be on the wait list. Google told TechCrunch that VO2 will also come to Vertex AI as the model becomes ready for use at scale.
We announced a new product. None of you can use it. Enjoy.
Yeah, have fun with that. All right, Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, perhaps you've heard of him, announced on Monday that Threads now has 100 million daily active users and 300 million monthly active users. By comparison, X has approximately 600 million monthly active users. Bluesky's tracker says it has more than 25 million total users, and Mastodon has an estimated 10 million registered users across the Fediverse. Now, obviously, some of these numbers, we're counting folks a little bit differently. But Emily, since you're with us, where do you stand these days on social networks?
It's a very interesting moment for the Twitter and Twitter offshoots. I mean, there's so much fragmentation in social media. I'm totally curious where it's going to land. I mean, I, like many people, kind of Twitter was my main. I was a career switched into journalism, so I'm not like a decades on Twitter kind of person. I'm just like a couple of years. And now, I'm on Threads, I'm on Bluesky, I'm not on Mastodon. For some reason, it's not resonating with me. I don't know why, but it's just kind of all over the place and trying to figure it out. But I will say my follower count is growing faster on Bluesky. So to me, that seems like where the momentum is going. And I am losing some followers on Twitter with absolutely no change in my posting behavior. So from my very small corner of the world, I feel like I'm losing followers for doing absolutely nothing on Twitter, and I'm gaining them on Bluesky. So that's what I see.
Yeah, it probably says more about their behavior than yours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just because they're all journalists and they're like, screw this place, but that's my view of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bluesky definitely has the acceleration right now. It certainly has the mind share right now. But when I looked these numbers up this morning, it was not shocking, but surprising. I'm like, oh, it's still at 25 million and growing. Don't get me wrong, but it has a way to go. And anecdotally, we hear like, oh, science Twitter has moved over to Bluesky, or hockey Twitter has moved over to Bluesky, but the numbers, the sheer volume hasn't moved over to Bluesky, and I think that's part of its attractiveness. Maybe is that it's not too crowded right now, and I'm not sure how long that will last.
It's just confusing because let's be real, like they all do a very similar thing. Except for Twitter is the most advanced and the most built up, whereas and then Threads has the advantage of all your Instagram followers are there. So really, I would like for Threads to take off personally, and then Bluesky is kind of like the rebel group of like, where can this thing go? But at the end of the day, they're all very similar, and it's hard. Is anyone going to be compelling enough to have a reason to go there?
Yeah, I've heard Andrew Heaton on Political Orphanage made this point, and Molly Wood on It's a Thing made this point, which is it's great to leave something because it's not, performing as expected, or you find it toxic or whatever. But is there enough different about the new places people are going, or is it just someplace that's going to end up having the same problems? Like, I wonder if there are fixes, and I know Bluesky says they have fixes. Even Threads is trying to do things differently, but in the end, it's still a microblogging platform, and I'm not sure how much of the issues people have with these platforms are just part of having one big open pool for everyone to talk in versus something like Reddit, where it's more segmented by interests.
I mean, we've definitely talked about, how Threads has grown in sort of a meteoric way. But like you mentioned, Emily, a lot of that has to do with just people that were on Instagram anyway, or in the Meta's universe in general. This is the first time that Threads has posted daily active users. So I think the company is, feeling pretty good about that. And, even if Threads only has, if you're taking the numbers at face value, 300 million monthly active users versus X's 600 million, it's okay. It's half of the users, but that's a lot of folks. That is a lot of people. Threads didn't exist a couple of years ago. It was kind of Twitter or whatever, or just go do something else. And now we have a variety of options, and I think that's good. But yeah, like you were saying, Tom, that Andrew and Molly, the points that they had made, it all kind of is the same thing. You find your people, you try to curate your following list, and you try to, let folks know what you're up to.
Yeah, there's also the Twitter numbers, I guess, have kind of plummeted since Elon Musk took over. So is that 600 million the new lower amount than 3 years ago? Is this form of social media just kind of dying? Like we're all just
it's certainly
fragmenting before an implosion?
It hasn't grown, and it's monthly, which usually stays a little more stable than daily. I'd be curious what the daily is for X these days. I look at other indicators too. When subgroups like the ones I mentioned, like the hockey Twitter folks start moving over I'm like, okay, that is significant. Now you have whole communities moving. Maybe that's worth paying attention to. I still haven't seen some of the international communities moving from X to other platforms. So if I see that, then it's like, okay, we've moved up another level. And if you start to see news posting or governments posting announcements elsewhere than X, I think that is kind of the ultimate, that is the death blow to X, because I think
That's
what
the
keeps them
one.
going right now is, when there is a big announcement, news outlets, governmental outlets, they still post it on X.
I saw that this week with the FBI in New Jersey posting about, don't point lasers at drones. And I saw it on Twitter, and then I went to Blue Sky and I didn't even have an account. So I think you're absolutely right. That's the barometer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying it will or won't happen, but it's kind of that's some of the signposts, some of the milestones that you want to be on the lookout for. Well, folks, if you want to join in the conversation about this, you got your own ideas, you want to chat with other folks in the audience, you can join our Discord by linking your Patreon account at patreon.com/DTNS.
It's been more than a month now since Apple Intelligence was released with iOS 18.1. A survey by tech trade insight Cell, that's Cell, found that 73% of Apple Intelligence users and 87% of Galaxy AI users said that new AI features were not that valuable or added little to no value. Emily, you've spent some time with Apple Intelligence, as have Tom and I as well. Maybe you can help us understand a little bit more about what is going on here. Apple Intelligence, what is good? What is not?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, Apple Intelligence is Apple's big answer to this whole AI craze of the past 2 years, like going back to ChatGPT. This is kind of their big go forward strategy. And it's confusing because it's not a single AI model. It's not like GPT-4. It's not a single feature. It's not even a single app on your phone. It's just this distribution of features across the whole device, their iPads, Macs, iPhones, and they're baking it kind of into the OS. So for example, the new Siri, or the first iteration of Siri that they launched, I'll get into that later, you can now access it by double tapping at the bottom of the device, and it pulls up a kind of glowy interface where you can type to Siri. So it's just, they're little features in every nook and cranny, and they have a big privacy promise on them that they're not going to store your data. If they're going to try to do it on device, and if a request needs to go off device, it will go to a new kind of what they're calling private cloud compute, which are more private servers. So that's what it is.
So, all right, that's that's great for folks who use Siri often. I almost never do unless I'm in my car, but at that point, I use it all the time. But there have been we've had 2 releases. So back in October, and we knew that these releases would be staggered, right? October's iOS 18.1, and then last week's iOS 18.2. It offered some more features. We've got stuff like the playground. We have Genmoji. How much have you played around with that stuff, and what sticks out to you as helpful?
Yeah, I've played around with all of it since the October release, and then last week's release. I went in to the Apple Store in New York last week for a briefing from Apple where they explained all the features. I did the same thing for the first tranche that they dropped. I've been playing with them on my iPhone 15 Pro, so that's kind of the oldest device it will work on. So you have to be iPhone 15 Pro through the iPhone 16 series. And I was really happy when you found this article, Tom, because it just kind of sums up my feeling about it. It's just so lukewarm. And in fact, I'm actually getting really irritated at the summaries for the emails and texts.
Oh my gosh, I hate them.
They're really distracting and they're inaccurate. Like, did you see that the BBC got mad because iPhone or like all these terms, Apple Intelligence summed up their article incorrectly and said that Luigi guy shot himself, and BBC was like, we didn't write that in an article. Like, don't send a push notification to everyone on your device that we did.
Yeah, I was talking about this to Eileen Rivera on Apple Vision Show recently, where I was like, I had gotten a summary from Facebook Messenger from a friend, and it was Thanksgiving related. But the summary sounded like something terrible had happened at Thanksgiving. So I log in, I look at the message, I'm like, gosh, that's not what he said at all.
Right. Yeah. And that's the feature you see the most. Like, every time I look at my phone, I have a notification and it's some crazy summary from Apple. And it's like, I actually would prefer just to see the first line of the text at this point. I don't like your summary. I think it's like more mental work. They're trying to make it less, but the first step, I'm now adjusting to whatever this crazy summary is. Second step, I'm reading the text. So my brain feels like it's doing more work. There are other features, but that's the one that's most prominent to me.
I ended up turning off the summaries for notifications in a lot of cases because I just didn't want to run into that. But I haven't turned them off for mail. And those are really distracting because I feel like I trained my brain to know what the first line of an email is going to indicate about the rest of it. And now I'm getting these like half sentences because there's not a lot of room to really summarize. And so I feel like I know less about what's in an email now because of that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm also seeing...
if I said to Emily, like, hey, let's meet up on Saturday, but I've got limited time, it's like you might get some summary that's like, Sarah, is something terrible has happened on Saturday. She can't come. Like, it's like, what? No, that's not what I said. There's a lot more context here.
Right. And there's a couple technical issues I've noticed too. Like, for example, some of the summaries seem to incorporate the head or the subject of the email. So if I have a subject, let's say I'm going to be on this podcast at this time, that's like all in the subject line. The summary will summarize the subject line where maybe all that was written in the email was sounds good. It's like they're taking in the wrong information. Or somebody sent me a screenshot today and it didn't say like they sent you a screenshot of, YouTube. It said it summarized what was in the screenshot in a crazy way. And it's just like, that's not what this communication is about. Like, your summary is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely, I find it the most annoying when there's a long email chain and it summarizes the entire email chain. And I'm like, yeah, I know I read all those. I don't need that part summarized, but
poor Apple, it's just not working. It's almost, with these summaries, I'm like, I wonder if they should roll it back, to be honest.
I wonder how much it matters to people though.
It's pissing me off.
Yeah, right. No, I gotcha.
I mean, you can just turn off the feature. One of the other features that I find, since we're kind of nickel and dime Apple a little bit here, is the new message suggestions of what I should respond to if you say something to me. The other day, somebody said, I just spent 45 minutes on the treadmill. this is somebody I know, and I was like, oh, cool. The suggestions were like, wow, sounds tough, or oh no. Like, I just, exit out, not going to say those things. I'm just like, you're pulling from data that you have no idea what we're talking about right now. Like, these are bad ideas for responses. I mean, Gmail does that quite a bit better, even though I don't really use those either.
Yeah, I mean, as for other features, I don't know what you guys are using. I mean, the Siri, in that article, they said it's actually the least used of the Apple Intelligence features, which is such a bummer for Apple because they're trying so hard to compete with this voice assistant that just people will not use. And they also pushed out the big revamp of Siri now until 2026. So they're flipping and flopping, hemming and hawing on this AI thing and just hoping something sticks.
I felt like the strategy was supposed to be, we're not doing AI, we're doing things that help make your experience better. And your mileage may vary on whether Genmojis or summaries are making it better. If we were to finish on a positive note, though, do you have a favorite feature of Apple Intelligence?
I really like the glow. I mean, that's like I don't know, just the way it looks. Like they're really good at design and branding, and I think they did hit the nail on the head with that here. I think it's an exciting look. I'm just waiting for the tech to catch up, and then I will be excited, I promise, once it does.
Right. All right, before we get out of here, let's check out the mailbag.
Let's do it. Chris Christensen explains a new Expedia program that will let influencers share travel recommendations with other influencers.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. Expedia is launching 100 new travel shops curated by social media creators, tastemakers, and brands, according to an article from Travel Pulse. They're allowing creators to share and save their travel recommendations on the Expedia app. And the idea is that you say that this is a great trip and that other people who book that trip, you get a cut of the revenue. Apparently next year, they'll be rolling that out to every user and not just to travel influencers. And no, I'm not one of the 100 travel influencers they're working with. Again, it's Expedia. Look for travel shops. And this is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
Well, Chris should be on the influencer list, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chris, for that.
Indeed. Thank you to Emily Forlini for being with us. Emily, what a pleasure. Let folks know where they can find your work online.
Thank you. Yeah, this was fun. You can find me pretty much everywhere. I guess I just told you my smattering of apps and things, but my username across all of them is pretty much, at Emily Forlini. I'd love for you to also read my work at pcmag.com, which is probably better than my social media. So, would love to see you in any of those places. And I'm also pretty easy to email to connect with as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate you being on. Hope we can get you back again.
Yeah, I'd love to do it again and be in the presence of greatness yet again.
Well, we'll try to book greatness alongside next time. Patrons, stick around for the extended show, Good Day Internet. We're going to play a little more with Whisk, and Emily's in New Jersey. I don't know if you caught that. So we have to ask her about the drones. Stick around for that.
We will indeed. Just a reminder, you can catch our show live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We're back doing it all again tomorrow, talking about Netflix's plan to make its upcoming Squid Game free for non-subscribers. With Scott Johnson joining us. Talk to you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.